as a lawyer or as a CA, as a professional, nobody expected you to get a result done.
So was that the prompt to pursue law at that point in time?
Yes, yes. Then I realized that, and if 3 years I'd done only legal work and I had not done any audit work.
आजकल भी काफी बच्चों को CA के बाद they believe that they need one more degree. Do you believe in that school of thought?
It depends upon what you want to do.
So did your litigation and your artificial experience help you get the first few clients?
I joined the chamber of a senior lawyer.
Do you see that trend somewhere reversing in the future, or this is how it's going to be eventually?
You see, there's going to be work for professionals.
Any landmark judgments that you have been part of in your journey?
One is a case called Syed Ali, which
Tell me, how did that thought of starting on your own come in, and has that paid off? Because in 1980s, tax and audit was the cream of a chartered accountant. To venture into indirect tax and then making a name for yourself, what has that journey been?
so yeah, so it was a different path because in my times, I think there were no CAs practicing on the indirect tax side, and so people used to question me that, look, are you sure what you're doing? You are a CA. You should be doing audit. You should be doing accounts. You should be doing consulting. Maybe you should be doing income tax. What are you doing on the indirect taxes side? What are you doing on the customs side?
Correct.
So yeah, there were these questions, but then ultimately, I think if you like a subject and if you enjoy doing what you're doing, I'm sure you start doing better at it, and ultimately you make a name for yourself, and you are able to get clients, and you're able to establish
So you
yourself
found your niche and
slowly.
you build your niche in the separate segment as a vertical of
Yes,
where you
I
were.
found it interesting. I found the subject very interesting, and I found the role of a legal professional
More
more
interesting.
interesting and more to my more suited to my
Tuned into
nature.
what you want to do.
Yeah.
So, did your litigation and your artificial experience help you get the first few clients? Because जब खुद की practice start करते हैं, always the question is कि clients कहाँ से आने वाले हैं? Because clients already have their affiliations to existing firms somewhere or the other. So, how did you get your first few clients?
Well, I think as I mentioned to you that I joined the chamber of a senior lawyer, uh, and I worked there for 3 years. So over these 3 years, there were clients who were interacting, people who getting to know you. So when I went on my own, uh, by word of all your clients come by word of mouth.
Correct.
Okay, so somebody recommends. So it was a slow process. The clients came slowly, gradually. One client comes, he's happy, he refers two more to you, and then those two more
And then
refer.
you build it out from
So
there.
it takes time, but you have to have patience.
Patience to do that.
Yeah, yeah, you have to have patience. You are not going to uh, get clients very easily.
कि
It
मैंने
takes
ऑफिस खोल दी
time.
और लाइन लग जाएगी. That
नहीं,
thought
ऐसा
process is
नहीं
not
होता
going to happen.
है, and the profession is all about patience.
True.
So it's best
And your
to
reputation about how
yes,
are you
it's
able to
best to
manage.
read a novel sitting in the office than to try and go out to get work or to get clients. I think that is one learning I've had, that one should never ever solicit work.
Oh, is it? So, I mean,
Yes.
that comes to a very important question. And statistically, in the last 15 to 20 years, the inclination of freshly passed CAs is towards industry and not practice. The numbers, which were 60% towards industry pehle, sorry, towards the practice pehle, now are moving towards industry, and number of people pursuing practice is declining year on year. Again, the same question in terms of one, the regulations are becoming difficult, of course. The GST coming in and the direct tax and all the compliances have become more stringent. And also, client milna is very challenging today. Uh, do you see that trend somewhere reversing in the future? Or this is how it's going to be eventually?
You see, there's going to be work for professionals. It depends upon the number of professionals who are in the market to do a given amount of work. So it all gets divided amongst them. So if there are um, you know, too many professionals wanting to do the same work, then yes, you're going to get less work. So which is one of the reasons, like if you see, if you have a lot of CAs who are trying to do audits or income tax work, find it difficult to get clients because everybody is doing the
Everybody,
same thing,
सब करते हैं.
right? So फिर अगर आप कुछ अलग करेंगे, then I think you will not have that kind of a, you are not in that kind of a crowd.
Less competition, maybe.
You are not in a crowd. You can be different
Correct.
and yet not be in a crowd.
Got it.
So I think it's better to be going away from that crowd and doing something
And doing
different.
something different. And the degree is enough, good enough to get you that head start over there. So that also brings me to the point that let's specialize in something and then be part of something very transformative. Any landmark judgments that you have been part of in your journey? I'm sure there must be a couple of them. Anything that you very strongly remember, and that also became a tipping point for people to know your name.
Yeah, there have been a few, and one is a case called Syed Ali, which we won in Supreme Court in 2000, and I think it was 2010. So this case started when I started my practice in '88.
Okay.
So very small amount, and this Mr. Syed Ali used to run some carpet factory in Banaras, near Banaras, Badoi. That area was known for carpet,
Okay.
and they used to export carpets.
Oh
So
wow.
very small people. They used to import some duty-free chemicals and things like that, and they used to then claim duty exemption. So the customs, the DRI or the Commissioner Preventive in Bombay, made cases against a lot of these carpet exporters in '88, saying that you have imported duty-free goods and then you have sold them off in the market,
Okay.
okay, and you violated uh, uh, import policy. You should pay duty, and they issued show cause notices. So this gentleman came to me with a small show cause notice of 5 lakh rupees, something 5 lakh rupees custom duty demand. And one of the points I took in the reply was that the notice was issued by an officer who was other than the officer who had assessed the bill of entry. So issued by DRI or Commissioner Preventive. And I said that is he the proper officer to issue a demand? So we raised that point. I raised that point in the reply. Uh, it was a new proposition in those times. We kept fighting. The matter went on. We lost in the tribunal on that point. They said, "Oh, what? There's no substance in this point." When the matter came in Supreme Court, the Supreme Court said that that point that we had raised on jurisdiction was correct, and they laid down in the year 2010 the DRI is not a proper officer because the proper officer is the one who assessed the bill of entry. Only he has the right to reassess.
Okay.
So that judgment, when it came from Supreme Court, thousands of show cause notices issued by DRI and
Became invalid.
they became invalid. So then the parliament had to amend the law
Okay.
in 2011
Yeah.
to try and revalidate them or make them valid. Even those amendments were faulty. So in 2022, Supreme Court for the second time said that those amendments don't make a difference. And
The
Syed Ali is
whole
still
case
good
law
law. Yeah,
stands good right
still
now
good
as
law.
well.
And even till now, all the DRI cases are stuck in,
Stuck out
they are not proceeding further. And there was a new judgment in 2022, I think, Canon India,
Okay.
which reaffirmed Syed Ali. And there's a review petition of the revenue which has been just recently heard on that. I don't know what will happen to that. But so that was one case, the proper officer
But
issue, which
that comes to a very interesting part. कि 1988 में case शुरू हुआ था. We're sitting in 2024 today, and while we have judgments, the litigation is still on. So some matters drag on for years and years and years. Does it somewhere impact the business in some manner at times?
so Hardik is not. See, you see the lifespan of that case. It was quite long, no doubt. It started in '88, and then it ended in 2010,
10.
right?
Yes.
But that's pretty long. It's 12 plus
Absolutely.
10, 22 years
Yeah.
it took for it to get resolved. But that gentleman did not really suffer because he, at every stage, there was a protection of a stay or something available to him. But it does really, this kind of delays in the legal system are undoubtedly a curse on the country. That's
To
and there are so
matter
many
that.
cases locked up in litigation. And this is only one case. You must be reading about so many other
Of course,
cases where people have been fighting criminal cases for 20 years, 30 years. There are cases where people have spent 10 years, 20 years in the jail, and then
and
they're
then they have
acquitted.
been yeah,
So how do you
true.
turn the clock and how do you give them relief?
So
they
justice
have
delayed is justice denied is a very common
absolutely, yeah,
clause
yeah.
that
So
we talk
that's,
about
yeah,
also.
yeah.
Have there been any businesses which have gone bankrupt because of delayed judgments?
No, I don't think so. I have not come across some, I mean, they're not on my side of law, but there are cases like, for instance, all these, the 2G scam cases, the telecom companies had to wind up.
Yes,
And
yes, many
ultimately,
of
when the
them.
trial happened, all of them were acquitted.
Correct. Yes,
But their
but the business suffered out there.
business had closed down.
Correct.
I think there were
Absolutely.
3 or 4 of these foreign companies who
Yeah,
shut shop
I
and
think even
went
Vodafone Idea
away.
is still struggling with those
Yes,
debts and all
yes,
at that point
yes,
in time.
yes,
So I
yes.
think somewhere that also impacts the large scale business somewhere.
Absolutely.
Small तो पता भी नहीं चलता है कि कितने बंद हो जाते हैं बहुत बार.
बिल्कुल.
काफ़ी सारे न्यूज़ में बहुत बार आता है स्पेशली फॉर दीज़ न्यू एज कंपनीज़, टेक्नोलॉजी कंपनीज़ हो गया या ऑल दीज़ बेटिंग कंपनीज़ या क्रिप्टो कंपनीज़ व्हिच वर देयर इन द रेज. जीएसटी compliance, जीएसटी outstanding default of 5,000 crores, 15,000 crores and all of that, plus interest and penalty. And it becomes big news, because the number is huge. And how many of these are actually true in terms of where it is, or these are just numbers on the media? Back end where the numbers are very different.
I can't say that every case is inflated in terms of its amounts, but many a times issues which are clear, which are little, there's a little ambiguity in law. The revenue department would play safe and issue a demand notice. Okay, they want to then say that, look, we want to save ourselves from uh, you know an
उनके भी
allegation
टारगेट्स होते हैं क्या
tomorrow.
कुछ हर साल के कलेक्शन के?
Maybe that one target to make cases. Sometimes they genuinely feel that we are right and
हो
the
सकता है.
SSC is wrong, and they raise demand notices when the matters then ultimately are fought. My experience is that most of these cases of that nature
Of
which you
these nature
mentioned
numbers, yeah.
are not sustained in the tribunals or in the courts. The success rate of the department in such kind of cases of these humongous amounts
Is
is very, very
minimalistic.
low. It's very low.
Got it.
They do cause a lot of anguish and uncertainty for the businesses because there is this, sword hanging on their head that there is a potential demand of 10,000 crores, 5,000 crores on them. But
Yeah,
then, in most cases, they are not really, legally sustainable. In most cases.
in those cases. So we're talking about ambiguity in law, and I think the idea of GST was to simplify law somewhere. Do you believe it's been in the right direction?
The idea was certainly good.
The execution.
The execution, I think, has been
Do you
wanting.
believe it was somehow pushed to in the name of reforms and then finding course correction on the way down?
So I think it was enacted in a hurry. All I'll say is this: the idea was a good idea,
Absolutely
okay, because instead of having 30 laws, uh, s- sales tax laws in 30 states,
correct.
is is certainly better to have one uniform law all over India. So idea is very good. So the idea of one nation, one tax,
True.
So that is a good idea. But then the way this law has been drafted, and I think it could have been better.
So are we already coming across litigation in GST in the way it is interpreted, the way it is complied with today?
Absolutely.
So that's a good news basically for an organization like ours,
See,
or
I will not like to look at it in such a selfish manner because I think I would rather do more fruitful work and litigation than do litigations for the sake of litigating matters. Uh, if one takes that kind of a view, then yes, any litigation is good for the profession, but it's not positive for the country. It's not great for the business, and I think our times can be better spent, doing other matters. So I don't think we should be wasting our time, collective energy in doing
fighting all of these cases for
fighting
the revenue?
useless cases. I think,
True.
but the system is such that the cases are made by the department, and you are defending them. So it's not that
Correct.
you create the case.
Absolutely. We are just
Is the creator
it's
is the
different.
revenue
Yeah, yeah.
authorities who like to take a very conservative view of the provisions.
So how can people remain on the right side of law always? I mean, staying updated with the changing law is very difficult. or do you suggest that the businessman should focus on the business and let the the lawyers and all or the experts take care of that and give you guidance and compliance on this?
Well, that's a very general question. I'd only say that there are businesses where where the owners or the management is very cautious, and they say that, look, we should be compliant and we should take legal advice and take proper advice before we do anything. And they do take advice before they enter into a transaction. So they go to consultants, they go to CAs, they go to lawyers, and say that we propose to do this transaction. So those people are generally better off, in my view, than those who do not consult before doing a transaction. So then, after having done the transaction in a particular manner, then there are disputes which arise,
So course
and they are
correction is
not.
expensive.
Yeah, then that is a expensive course, to follow, because then you are trying to remedy a past.
Age old prevention is better than cure.
Of course,
So
it's very
अगर
simple. You're
पहले से
right.
थोड़ा बहुत कर लेते हैं, तो it's easier
Yes,
than
yes,
all
yes.
these
And you see
litigation.
so many business
But is it applicable
houses.
for even small scale businesses? I
Why
understand large
not?
scale businesses understand the importance of it. If someone is a consultant, a fresher starting off with a new business, the initial 20-50 lakhs, 1 CR of business, for them also, do you think compliance is prerogative, or it can be deferred till they reach a little some scale?
No, I think compliance
It has to be a
has to
default
be,
button
yeah,
out there.
yeah, yeah. And it's best to take a second advice sometimes, a second opinion or something.
Okay, perfect. So, if you had a chance to restart your career, go back, rewind the last 35 odd years, will you do something differently?
Frankly, no, I'll do exactly what I have done. Uh, Maybe done my law a little earlier, but I would have certainly loved to I would still do my CA.
See, you'll still do your
Yes,
CA
I'll still
again.
do my CA course.
You have kids. Are they CA by any chance?
No, two of them are lawyers,
Both of them are lawyers.
and the third one is studying psychology. So they're a little different field. She's in a different field, and
All right. If you had to give an advice to students pursuing their 10th, just deciding upon whether they want to do science or commerce or what field to get into, you also had doctor as one of your aspirations. Science is still a passion for you today,
yes, absolutely.
right? So वो बच्चे को क्या सोच के decide करना चाहिए for the kids, but more importantly for the parents also, to give them the freedom to decide what they want to do? What is your message for them?
Actually, I think the simple thing is that the children must find their own area of interest, and then try to build a career around that. So there's no need to be a CA if you're going to be a great engineer, and there's no need to be an engineer if you can be a great footballer.
Absolutely,
So I think
absolutely.
to each according to his interest.
Correct. So I think a lot of aptitude tests, and it's also to okay to choose a career and then course correct after 2 or 3 years if you have to. We don't have to get stuck to what
Yes,
we do
yes, that's
today.
a great point. I believe in that. Um, Many a times you choose a certain path, and then you realize that that's not the best thing to do, and it's best that people cut their losses and do a course
Stop loss,
correction. Yeah, yeah, cut their losses, stop loss, whatever you call
sunk
it.
cost, whatever you
Yeah,
call
and
it.
sunk cost, whatever concept, and then start doing what you like. It's
Correct.
never too late.
I think there's a very good, profound statement that if you're on the wrong train, get off the next station, because the later you get down, you
Yes,
have wasted so much more time and all of
absolutely
that.
right.
To come back
I
is going to be
believe
a
in
long,
this.
long
I
journey out
believe in
there.
this philosophy.
Interesting. So, अगर आज किसी को, today in 2024, someone wants to build their career in indirect taxation or in litigation, what should be the first 2 or 3 starting points for them?
I mean, well, if somebody wants to do indirect tax as I mean, uh, you could do your CA, you could do your law, and I mean, if depends, if you want to do compliance work, which is basically filing of returns, then it's better to be a CA, because then you understand the accounting better. But if you want to do advisory work also, then I think the CA course is good. But if you have a flair for uh, for litigation work, arguments, courts, and you see yourself as a person arguing in a court, then I think in addition to CA course, one must also do law.
Law. Okay. And any advice on getting the first client?
No, not really. I think one should never go out to get a client,
Well,
because
well,
no client will ever come to you if you go and ask them for work.
all right, moving to the last segment for this episode is rapid fire. I'll ask a few questions and your quick responses on that. If someone asks you कि आज आपको वापस CA की एग्जाम देनी पड़ेगी, would you be willing to do that?
No.
No. Law exam?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. One case that you enjoyed arguing before the bench or before the High Court or Supreme Court?
Syed Ali's case.
This case. And that's still
Yeah.
still going on, right? Okay. One subject that you hated to study at that point in time?
Physics. I'm talking of
Yeah, in school.
school. Yeah,
and
physics.
in CA?
I didn't like physics. Yeah.
And in CA?
In CA, I think I didn't like something on the financial management,
Okay.
which I found difficult
To
to understand.
A book that you will recommend everyone to read?
Godfather.
Okay. And do you love to travel?
I love to travel,
So,
absolutely.
which is your favorite travel destination?
I like Switzerland most, and Scotland. Two places are my favorite.
Okay. All right, sir. Thank you so much for spending this evening with us at Beyond the Degree. I'm sure there's a lot of us for learn in terms of indirect tax litigation. It's okay to take the unconventional, unpopular paths of, which is not commonly taken by everyone today, and build your name and reputation. And 30, 40 years later, you are one of the biggest names in the industry that are out there. Thank you for spending time with us. And there's so much more for us to learn from you. Thank you so much for being with us on this episode of Beyond the Degree.
Been a pleasure. Thank you.
This episode is powered by J. Kisha Classes. आपको पहले आर्मी में जाना था and then you came to commerce. Tell me about that journey.
So when I started my BCom, I had an opportunity to go to National Cadet Corps.
Were the first years of transition little difficult, or
Finding articleship was a big concern at that particular time.
in the first few years, did you think language became a barrier when you were interacting with people? Was English such an important thing even 40 years back?
Work profile that I was doing, the books of accounts were in Gujarati. I used to translate the annual accounts, the balance sheet, etc. in English. Nobody else knew that. So that became